The heavy steel door of my floor safe hung open, its locking mechanism mangled with a crowbar. Empty blue security sleeves were scattered across my bedroom rug like autumn leaves after a storm. I stood frozen in my doorway, staring at the destruction. "I'm doing you a favor, Marin. You were just letting that money rot while I'm actually out here living." Sienna's laugh echoed from behind me as she dangled my car keys. She was wearing a new designer coat that probably cost $3,000, clearly bought with my emergency cash. The betrayal hit me like a physical blow. This wasn't just about money. She hadn't just taken my savings. She'd taken my safety, my security, everything I'd worked 12 years to build. My hands trembled as I looked at the violated safe, the broken lock, the empty sleeves that had held $500,000 in protected government securities. My name is Marin Ashworth, and for 12 years I'd been the drab daughter who worked for the Treasury while my family called me a stingy recluse. They mocked my simple apartment, my second-hand furniture, my practical clothes. They had no idea what I actually did, what those blue sleeves actually contained. I looked at the smudged fingerprints Sienna had left on the safe style. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't collapse. Instead, I walked calmly to my desk and picked up my secure line phone, the one with the red stripe that Sienna had always assumed was decorative. I dialed a number my sister didn't even know existed. "This is Marin Ashworth, employee ID Alpha 7295. Clearance level 5. I need to report a Category A theft of protected securities. Initiate the trace immediately." The voice on the other end was professional and immediate. "Confirmed. Agents dispatched." I remembered every single time my mother Beatrice had told me to be more like Sienna over the years. Every birthday dinner where Sienna showed off her latest designer purse while I wore the same navy dress. Every holiday where my parents praised Sienna's vibrant lifestyle and worried about my antisocial tendencies. What they didn't know was that while Sienna spent every dollar she earned and then some, I was putting 60% of my treasury salary into high-yield government bonds. Secure, protected, and growing steadily. I'd lived in this modest apartment not because I couldn't afford better, but because I was building something they couldn't comprehend. Financial independence. Real wealth. Not the fake, flashy kind that Sienna paraded on social media. The kind that would let me retire at 45 and never worry again. Until today, when she destroyed it all with a crowbar. My parents showed up at my apartment 2 hours after the federal agents left. Beatrice was wearing her pearls and that expression of disappointed concern she'd perfected over the years. Vance stood behind her, arms crossed. "Marin, we need to talk about what you've done," my mother began. I blocked the doorway. "What I've done?" Beatrice pushed past me into the living room. "Reporting your own sister to the police? For sharing what you had?" Vance nodded. "Sienna needs that money for her image. Her influencer career depends on looking successful. You're being cruel and selfish." I stared at them, genuinely shocked. "She broke into my safe and stole $500,000 in federal securities. That's not sharing. That's a felony." My mother waved her hand dismissively. "Don't be dramatic. Just paper. Family is more important than paper." I realized then that they'd never understand. They'd never even tried to. Sienna posted her haul video on TikTok that same evening. I watched it from my couch, my secure phone still within reach. She was wearing diamond earrings, 3 designer necklaces, and showing off her new red sports car to her 2 million followers. "Sometimes you just have to treat yourself, you know," she said, spinning to show off her outfit. My boring sister was just hoarding cash like some kind of dragon. But I'm actually living life. The comments flooded in with heart emojis and praise. "Yas queen. You deserve it. Get that bag." She even mocked me in the captions. "Shout out to my sis who finally learned to share #, #sisterly love, #treat yourself, #luxury life." My phone buzzed. It was Agent Torres. "We've documented the social media evidence. She's making this too easy." I smiled for the first time all day. Yes, she really is. The federal knock came on Sienna's door 2 days later. I wasn't there, but Agent Torres called me with updates. 2 agents in dark suits showed up at her apartment. Sienna had apparently tried to flirt her way out of it, touching one agent's arm and claiming the bonds were a birthday gift from me. Agent Torres said she'd laughed. A gift? Do you have documentation? The agent had pulled out his folder. Ms. Ashworth has filed a federal theft report. Those securities are tracked and registered in her name. If she doesn't sign a gift affidavit within 72 hours, you're looking at 20 years in federal prison for theft of government property. Sienna's confidence had apparently crumbled. 20 years. For some stupid papers. The agent's response was ice cold. $500,000 in protected securities, ma'am. This isn't shoplifting. This is serious federal crime. My father tried to fix it in the worst way possible. He showed up at my office 3 days later with a document he'd clearly prepared himself. I've taken care of everything, Vance announced proudly, sliding papers across my desk. It was a gift affidavit with my signature at the bottom. A signature I'd never written. I picked up the document carefully, examining it. You forged my signature. He had the audacity to look offended. I did what needed to be done to save this family. What he didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I'd already provided the federal agents with my digital biometric signature. Every document I signed at Treasury required fingerprint and retinal scan verification. Any paper signature without that verification was automatically void. Picked up my phone. Agent Torres. My father just presented me with a forged affidavit. Yes, I'll hold it for you. Vance's face went pale as he finally understood what he'd done. The account freeze happened on a Thursday morning. I got the notification from Agent Torres first, then I waited. 30 minutes later my mother called, hysterical. Marin. Something's wrong with Sienna's accounts. The bank says everything is frozen. Kept my voice neutral. Every account tied to stolen federal securities gets automatically frozen during investigation, Mom. It's standard procedure. Sienna called next, screaming. She was at an expensive salon in the middle of getting her hair done. Her card had been declined. Then her backup card. Then the third one. The salon owner had apparently been very loud about it in front of all the other clients. They made me leave with my hair half done, she shrieked into the phone. Everyone was staring. This is your fault. Hung up. The federal government didn't care about her embarrassment. Neither did I anymore. The family mercy dinner was held at an upscale restaurant. I knew it was a trap the moment I received the invitation, but I went anyway. I wore a wire. Agent Torres had insisted on it when I told him about the dinner. If they admit to anything, we want it recorded, he'd said. I sat at the table with my parents and Sienna, who was wearing sunglasses indoors to hide her shame. Marin, sweetheart, Beatrice began using her softest voice. We're all so sorry about the misunderstanding. Vance jumped in. We just need you to sign the papers saying it was a gift. Then all of this goes away. I sipped my water. All of what goes away? The theft. The breaking and entering. The identity fraud. My father's mask slipped. I helped her get into that safe because you're too damn stubborn to share. Across the restaurant, I saw Agent Torres at a corner table. He'd heard every word. Perfect. The neighborhood gossip started almost immediately. I ran into Mrs. Chen at the grocery store. She'd lived 3 doors down from my parents for 20 years. Marin, dear, I heard you're bankrupting your poor sister over some family dispute. I carefully selected apples, keeping my voice calm. I'm sure the federal court will find the truth, Mrs. Chen. She looked uncomfortable. But family is family. Surely you could just let it go. I met her eyes. If someone broke into your home and stole 50 years of your retirement savings, would you let it go? She had no answer. The gossip continued anyway. People who'd known me my whole life suddenly crossed the street to avoid me. The heartless daughter narrative spread like wildfire. But I remained classy, professional, and completely unbothered. The truth would come out eventually. It always did. Agent Torres called with news that made my blood run cold. Marin, we found something during our investigation. Your sister didn't just steal the bonds. I gripped my phone tighter. What else? He sighed. She's been using your social security number to open credit card accounts. 5 high-interest cards over the past 18 months. All maxed out. Total debt is around $80,000. My apartment suddenly felt too small. Identity theft on top of the securities theft. Sienna had been slowly destroying my credit while building her fake influencer empire. The cards were used for designer purchases, travel, restaurant bills, Torres continued. She's been funding her entire lifestyle with your identity. I thought about all those haul videos, all that praise from her followers. It was all built on stolen money and my stolen name. Can we add this to the charges? Yes. Already done, Torres confirmed. This just got a lot more serious for her. Sienna was hosting a party when the repo man arrived. I heard about it through the gossip chain, but Agent Torres sent me the video footage later. Sienna had invited 30 of her influencer friends to her apartment, all of them dressed expensively and sipping champagne. She'd been outside showing off the red sports car when the tow truck pulled up. Ma'am, I'm here to repossess this vehicle. Sienna had laughed. You've got the wrong car. This is mine. The driver showed her the paperwork. Purchased with funds from a frozen account. Banks taking it back. She'd screamed as they loaded the car onto the flatbed. All 30 guests watched from the windows above. By morning, 3 of them had posted about it. When your influencer friend gets her car repossessed at her own party, the video went viral. Not in the way Sienna wanted. During the investigation, Agent Torres discovered something even darker. My parents' financial records showed regular withdrawals from a trust fund that wasn't theirs. Marin, do you have a cousin named Timothy Ashworth? He nodded. He's disabled. Cerebral palsy. My grandfather set up a trust fund for his lifelong care. Torres's voice was grim. Your parents have been borrowing from that trust for years. The records show the money went to pay Sienna's legal fees from a previous fraud case we didn't even know about. My hand shook. They'd been stealing from a disabled man to cover up Sienna's crimes. Timothy was 32 and needed round-the-clock care. That trust fund was his lifeline. How much did they take? I whispered. Almost $200,000 over 5 years. Closed my eyes. My family wasn't just toxic. They were criminals. And they'd been hiding it behind Sunday dinners and birthday cards. Sienna's expensive lawyer showed up at my apartment trying to intimidate me into a settlement. He was older, wearing a $1,000 suit, and carrying himself like he'd won every case he'd ever touched. Ms. Ashworth, my client is willing to settle this matter quietly. We're prepared to offer you $50,000 and a public apology. I invited him in and handed him a folder I'd prepared. Your retainer fee. $300,000, paid from the stolen securities account. His confident smile vanished as he flipped through the evidence. You've been paid with stolen federal property, counselor, which makes you potentially liable for receiving stolen goods. His face went gray. I was unaware. I held up my hand. I'm sure you were. But the federal agents are very interested in talking to you. He left the folder on my table and walked out. By evening, he'd filed a motion to withdraw from the case. Sienna was suddenly without representation. My mother's fake illness came 3 days before the trial. Beatrice called me at 6 a.m, her voice weak. Marin, I'm having a heart episode. The stress of what you're doing to this family is killing me. I'd expected this move. Where are you, Mom? She gave me my parents' address. I hung up and called a private emergency medical service, the elite kind that cost $5,000 but came with no questions asked. They arrived at my parents' house within 10 minutes with full cardiac equipment. I showed up 20 minutes later. Beatrice was on the couch, her hand dramatically pressed to her chest. The paramedics ran their tests while I watched. The lead paramedic turned to me. Your mother's vitals are completely normal. Heart rate, blood pressure, everything. There's no cardiac event. I looked at Beatrice. Get up, Mom. The performance is over. Her weakness vanished instantly, replaced by anger. How dare you embarrass me like this? I hired a private investigator named Marcus 2 weeks into the investigation. Find where she's hiding the physical bonds, I told him. They're somewhere she thinks is safe. Took him 6 days. He called me from outside a high-end gym. She's got a private locker here. Pays $2,000 a month for it. The bonds are inside, along with some jewelry and cash. I made a decision. Don't touch anything. Just document it and tell Agent Torres the location. Marcus understood immediately. You want them to find it officially. Exactly. If I took the bonds myself, Sienna could claim I planted evidence. But if federal agents discovered them during a legal search, the case was airtight. Torres got a warrant within hours. They raided the gym with cameras rolling, documenting everything. Sienna's secret hiding place became Exhibit A in her federal trial. The look on her face when they showed her the footage was priceless. The social media downfall happened faster than I expected. Once the news broke that the federal bond thief was influencer Sienna Ashworth, her sponsors scattered like roaches. The cosmetics company dropped her first. Then the fashion brands. Then the lifestyle apps that had been paying her for promotional posts. Her follower count plummeted from 2 million to 800,000 in a week. The comments on her old posts changed from praise to mockery. Imagine building your whole life on stolen money. She's literally a criminal. Unfollow this fraud. Her engagement dropped to 0. The influencer career she'd stolen my money to fund was dead. But instead of feeling victorious, I just felt tired. This was my sister. The girl who'd once braided my hair and shared her Halloween candy. Somewhere along the way, she'd become someone I didn't recognize. Someone I couldn't save. The discovery about the house came from the title company. I'd been reviewing documents for the trial when I noticed something strange about my parents' address. Called the title office. Can you tell me who owns the property at 847 Maple Drive? The clerk typed. That property is registered to Marin Ashworth. Transferred from Alastair Ashworth in 2015. My grandfather. He'd put the house in my name before he died, probably knowing what my parents were like. I'd been 22 and working my first treasury job. He'd never told me. I sat with this information for 2 days, then made my decision. I had a lawyer draft a 30-day eviction notice. I drove to my parents' house and handed it to my father. What is this? He demanded. Notice to vacate. This house is in my name. Since you love Sienna's lifestyle so much, you can go live it with her. My mother's face went white. You wouldn't. I was already walking back to my car. 30 days. Don't make me send the sheriff. Sienna's new fiancé appeared about 3 weeks before the trial. She'd been posting about him constantly. Antonio, a tech mogul who supposedly owned 3 startups. He drove expensive cars and wore designer suits. My investigator was skeptical. Want me to look into him? I authorized it. Marcus called me 2 days later laughing. Your sister's fiancé is a con artist named Tony Fletcher. He's got warrants in 2 states for fraud. But the real surprise came when federal agents caught Tony trying to break into Sienna's gym locker to steal the remaining bonds for himself. The thieves were now robbing each other. Agent Torres called me with the news. Your sister's fiancé just got arrested trying to access the evidence locker. He thought he could steal the bonds and disappear. I almost felt bad for Sienna. Almost. She'd built her entire life on lies and attracted someone exactly like her. Perfect karma. The mediation meeting happened in a bland conference room at the federal building. Sienna sat across from me with a new lawyer. This one a public defender who looked exhausted. My parents sat beside her, both of them glaring at me like I was the villain. The mediator explained the charges, the evidence, the potential sentences. Sienna leaned back in her chair and smiled. Here's the thing though, I lost the bonds. Sold them. Spent the money. So Marin's never getting them back. She looked so smug, so confident. I pulled out my tablet and played the video. Federal agents opening the gym locker. Removing the blue security sleeves one by one. Counting them. All accounted for. Sienna's face drained of all color as she watched herself being exposed. How did you? I closed the tablet. You're not as smart as you think you are. None of you are. The doors opened and 2 federal agents entered the conference room. Sienna's public defender immediately stepped back. Sienna Ashworth, you're under arrest for theft of government property, identity theft, and fraud. The agents cuffed her while she screamed. This isn't fair. She's my sister. She should have shared. Another agent moved toward my father. Vance Ashworth, you're under arrest as an accessory to theft and for forgery of federal documents. My father tried to resist, but they cuffed him efficiently. My mother stood alone in the corner, watching her husband and daughter being led away. She looked at me, her eyes full of something I couldn't quite read. Not anger. Maybe shock. Maybe the first hint of understanding. How could you do this to your own family? She whispered. I gathered my belongings. I didn't do this. They did. I just stopped protecting them from the consequences. I walked out, leaving her standing there alone. The final twist came from my own investigation. While reviewing my parents' financial records, I discovered they'd taken out massive loans against the family business, a small manufacturing company my grandfather had built. They'd used my sister's fake success as collateral, claiming she was about to sign major endorsement deals. The business was drowning in debt. Foreclosure was imminent. I made some calls. Within 2 weeks, I'd bought the debt for 60 cents on the dollar. The business that had been in my family for 3 generations now belonged to me. I called a meeting with the board. I'm the new owner. We're restructuring immediately. They stared at me. Marin, the stingy recluse who supposedly couldn't handle money. The company will be profitable within 6 months, I told them. And it will never again be used as a piggy bank for family drama. They believed me. Because unlike Sienna, I'd actually earned my reputation. My mother showed up at my apartment the night before Sienna's sentencing. Please, Marin. The bail is $50,000. Can't raise it. You're the only one who can help. I didn't invite her inside. You chose the daughter who stole from me, Mom. You enabled her, defended her, and attacked me for trying to protect myself. Beatrice's voice broke. She's your sister. Family has to forgive. I shook my head. Family has to deserve forgiveness. Sienna stole my identity, my money, and my security. Dad helped her break into my safe and then forged federal documents. You stole from a disabled man to cover her previous crimes. My mother tried to reach for my hand. I stepped back. I'm done being the family bank. I'm done being the responsible one who cleans up everyone's messes. You made your choices. Now live with them. I closed the door in her face and didn't look back. Sienna's sentence came down on a cold Tuesday morning. 5 years in federal prison. No parole eligibility for at least 3. My father got 2 years as an accessory, plus probation. The judge had been harsh, calling their actions a betrayal of family trust and a flagrant disregard for federal law. I didn't attend the sentencing. I didn't need to. Agent Torres sent me the details. My parents lost their house, my house, and moved into a small rental apartment across town. I'd heard from Marcus that Beatrice was working retail at a department store. Vance was doing warehouse work. The life they'd lived on credit and stolen money was over. I didn't feel joy about their downfall, but I felt something I hadn't felt in 12 years. The weight of being the family savior, the responsible daughter, the one who had to fix everything. It was gone. They'd made their choices. Now they could live with them. I stood in my new home, looking out at the Pacific Ocean. The house was small but beautiful, perched on a cliff with waves crashing below. I'd paid cash for it, legal money from my legal bonds and my treasury salary. In the corner of my home office sat a new safe. State-of-the-art, biometric, connected to a security system that would alert federal agents if anyone tried to breach it. Inside were my new securities, properly protected and legally documented. I thought about Sienna, sitting in a federal prison, probably still blaming me. I thought about my parents in their rental apartment, probably still not understanding what they'd done wrong. But mostly I thought about myself. The daughter who'd been called stingy, boring, and antisocial. The woman who'd actually been building something real while everyone else built houses of cards. I smiled at the ocean. I was finally free from the people who'd mistaken my discipline for weakness. And I was never looking back.